The arrival. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, humanity had always dreamed of reaching the stars. Little did they know that the stars were already watching them. It was the year 2157 when Earth's first faster-than-light ship, the ESS Pathfinder, breached the boundaries of the solar system. As Captain Elena Rodriguez guided her vessel through the inky blackness of space, she couldn't shake the feeling that this journey would change everything. The Pathfinder sensors suddenly lit up like a Christmas tree. Before the crew could react, a massive ship materialized before them, dwarfing the Pathfinder in both size and technological sophistication. Captain Rodriguez's heart raced as she ordered her crew to battle stations, but the expected attack never came. Instead, a melodious voice echoed through the ship's communication systems. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Galactic Alliance, and we've been waiting for you." Thus began humanity's introduction to a universe far larger and more complex than they had ever imagined. The Galactic Alliance, a coalition of over 50 sapient species, had been observing Earth for centuries, waiting for humans to develop FTL technology, the unofficial benchmark for invitation into their interstellar community. As Earth's government scrambled to process this paradigm-shifting revelation, Captain Rodriguez and her crew found themselves thrust into the role of humanity's first ambassadors. The Alliance representatives, led by the avian Aetherian diplomat Dixara, brought the Pathfinder to Harmony Station, the sprawling nexus of galactic diplomacy. Harmony Station was a marvel of engineering, a city-sized structure that served as neutral ground for all member species of the Alliance. As the human delegation stepped onto its pristine decks, they were overwhelmed by the diversity of life forms around them. Crystalline beings conversed with amorphous blobs of sentient plasma, while humanoid aliens of every imaginable color and configuration went about their business. Over the next few months, Earth's leaders engaged in intense negotiations with the Alliance Council. The galaxy, they learned, was not the peaceful utopia they might have hoped for. Ancient rivalries, resource conflicts, and ideological differences plagued interstellar politics, much as they did on Earth. The Alliance offered protection, technology, and trade opportunities, but they also needed something in return: human ingenuity. "Your species has a unique way of looking at problems," Zixera explained to Captain Rodriguez during a private meeting. "We've observed how quickly you've advanced, how you've overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The Alliance needs that kind of thinking." As if to underscore the point, alarms blared throughout Harmony Station. A holo display flickered to life, showing a massive fleet of ships approaching. Their design was unlike anything in the Alliance database. "The Void Collective," Zixera whispered, her feathers ruffling in distress. "We thought they were just a myth, a boogeyman story told to scare fledglings. But they're real, and they're here." The Void Collective, as humanity would soon learn, was a group of species that had rejected the principles of the Alliance. They believed in cosmic nihilism, that the universe was inherently meaningless, and that the only true purpose was to hasten its end. Their ships were living weapons, powered by dark matter, and capable of rending the fabric of space-time itself. As panic spread through Harmony Station, Captain Rodriguez noticed something odd about the collective's formation. "They're not in an attack pattern," she mused aloud. "It's almost as if they're running from something." Her observation proved prescient. The Void Collective wasn't attacking. They were seeking asylum. Their leaders claimed that an even greater threat had emerged from the depths of intergalactic space, a force so terrifying that even these nihilists feared it. The Alliance Council was thrown into chaos. Many advocated for immediately rejecting the collective's plea and preparing for war. Others argued for caution, fearing that turning away the collective might drive them to desperation. In the midst of this turmoil, it was Captain Rodriguez who proposed an unconventional solution. "We test them," she suggested to the council. "Give them a chance to prove their sincerity by helping us prepare for this new threat. If they're lying, we'll be ready. If they're telling the truth, we'll need all the help we can get." The council was skeptical, but with no better options, They agreed to Elena's plan. And so, barely 6 months after humanity's introduction to galactic society, they found themselves at the center of the greatest crisis the Alliance had ever faced. As Earth's governments were briefed on the situation, a mix of fear and determination swept across the planet. Humanity had dreamed of the stars for millennia, and now that they had reached them, they weren't about to let some cosmic horror take it all away. Research facilities around the world shifted into overdrive, analyzing the advanced technology provided by both the Alliance and the Collective. Military strategists pored over historical records of Earth's wars, looking for innovative tactics that might apply to space combat. And in shipyards both on Earth and in orbit, a new generation of vessels began to take shape, ships that combined the best of human creativity with the most advanced alien technology. Captain Rodriguez found herself promoted to admiral, tasked with overseeing the integration of human forces into the Alliance fleet. As she stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned HFY Defiant, Earth's first true warship, she couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and trepidation. "We're not ready for this," she confided to her XO, Commander Yuki Tanaka. "We've barely figured out FTL travel, and now we're preparing for a war against an enemy we know nothing about." Yuki smiled, her eyes gleaming with the determination that had become characteristic of humanity in these trying times. "Maybe that's our advantage, Admiral. We don't know what's impossible yet, so we'll try everything." As if in response to her words, a communication came through from Earth. The UN Space Command had approved a radical new ship design, one that had Alliance engineers shaking their heads in disbelief. It was massive, far larger than anything humans had built before, and incorporated technologies in ways no one had ever considered. They were calling it the Northumbria, after the ancient kingdom that had stood against insurmountable odds. As Admiral Rodriguez looked at the schematics, a smile crept across her face. Maybe, just maybe, humanity's penchant for thinking outside the box would be the key to facing the coming storm. Little did they know, the true test of human ingenuity and determination was just beginning. The stars that had once seemed so welcoming now held untold dangers, but humanity was ready to face them head-on. The age of Earth's isolation was over. The era of human ascendancy in the galaxy was about to begin. The challenge. The HSS Defiant drifted silently through the void, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible to both conventional sensors and the naked eye. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that dominated the center of the room. It showed a vast, swirling nebula, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "Status report," Elena ordered, her voice calm despite the tension that hung in the air like a physical presence. Commander Yuki Tanaka, her faithful XO, responded promptly. "All systems nominal. Admiral, the Aetherian and Collective ships are maintaining formation. No sign of the enemy yet." Elena nodded, her mind racing through potential scenarios. It had been 6 months since the Void Collective's desperate plea for asylum, and in that time, the galaxy had changed dramatically. The Alliance, once fractious and slow to act, had united in the face of the impending threat. Even the addition of human forces, raw and inexperienced as they were, had been accepted with minimal grumbling. The nebula before them was known as the Maelstrom, a turbulent region of space that had long been avoided by Alliance ships. But intel from the Collective suggested that whatever force had driven them to seek help was using the Maelstrom as a staging ground. "Admiral," a young ensign called out, her voice tinged with excitement and fear. "We're picking up something on the long-range sensors. It's huge." The holographic display zoomed in, revealing a mass of twisted metal and pulsing energy emerging from the heart of the nebula. It defied description, a nightmarish amalgamation of organic and mechanical components that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. "By the void," whispered Zixara, the Aetherian diplomat who had become a permanent fixture on the Defiance bridge. "It's worse than we imagined." As if sensing it had been discovered, the monstrosity suddenly accelerated, moving with a speed that belied its massive size. Tendrils of dark energy lashed out, ripping through space itself. Evasive maneuvers, Elena shouted, but it was too late. One of the collective ships, a sleek vessel of living metal, was caught by the tendril. In an instant, it was torn apart, its crew's screams cutting off abruptly as they were exposed to the vacuum of space. The battle that followed was chaotic and terrifying. Alliance and collective ships alike found their weapons largely ineffective against the creature's bizarre physiology. It seemed to absorb or redirect energy attacks, while physical projectiles simply passed through its ever-shifting form. As the fleet scattered, desperately trying to avoid the creature's attacks, Elena's mind raced. There had to be a weakness, some way to fight this thing. She thought back to her training, to the countless war games and simulations she had run since joining the Alliance forces. "Commander Tanaka," she said suddenly, an idea forming. "That thing, it's not just a ship or a creature. It's like a living wormhole." Yuki's eyes widened as she grasped Elena's meaning. "You're right. The way it moves, the way it distorts space around it. It's generating micro-wormholes constantly." Elena nodded, a grim smile on her face. "And if it's generating wormholes, we can use that against it," Yuki finished. Without hesitation, Elena opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez. Concentrate your fire on these coordinates." She transmitted a series of points around the creature's central mass. "Fire everything you've got, on my mark." The remaining ships acknowledged, moving into position. The creature, perhaps sensing the change in tactics, renewed its assault with even greater fury. Several more ships were lost, their destruction marked by brief, silent flashes in the void. "Now," Elena ordered. A barrage of energy weapons, missiles, and exotic particles converged on the designated points. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a soundless roar that nonetheless shook every ship in the vicinity, the creature imploded. The micro-wormholes it had been generating collapsed in on themselves, tearing the monstrosity apart from the inside out. As quickly as it had begun, the battle was over. The remnants of the creature drifted lifelessly in space, already beginning to disperse into the nebula from which it had emerged. The bridge of the Defiant erupted in cheers, but Elena couldn't bring herself to join in. She knew that this was only the beginning. Whatever this thing was, wherever it had come from, there would be more. In the days that followed, as the fleet limped back to Alliance space, reports came in from across the galaxy. Similar creatures had been sighted in multiple sectors, always emerging from regions of space distortion like the Maelstrom. The threat was real, and it was spreading. An emergency session of the Alliance Council was convened on Harmony Station. Representatives from every member species, along with the reluctantly accepted Void Collective, gathered to discuss the crisis. Elena found herself standing before them, tasked with explaining the battle and its implications. "The entity we encountered," she began, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil, "represents a fundamental shift in our understanding of both biology and physics. It's not just a threat to our territories or our way of life. It's a threat to the very fabric of our reality." Murmurs of fear and disbelief rippled through the assembled delegates. Elena continued, undeterred. "But we've proven that they can be fought, that they can be defeated. What we need now is to understand them, to find out where they're coming from and why they're here." An Ixtaxian delegate, its gelatinous form quivering with agitation, spoke up. "And how do you propose we do that, human? Our greatest scientists have been unable to make sense of the data we gathered." Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been dreading, but she knew it was necessary. "We used the Northumbria," she said. The council chamber erupted in chaos. The Northumbria, humanity's massive and controversial new ship, had been a point of contention since its inception. Many saw it as a waste of resources, a foolish human vanity project in the face of a galactic crisis. "Silence," bellowed Zixera, her usually melodious voice cutting through the din. Let the Admiral explain. Elena nodded gratefully to her Aetherian friend. The Northumbria isn't just a ship, she explained. It's a mobile research station, a weapons platform, and a refuge all in one. Its size allows for the integration of technologies from every Alliance species, as well as what we've learned from the Collective. She called up a holographic display of the massive vessel. More importantly, it's designed to generate and sustain its own micro-wormholes, similar to what we observed in the creature. We believe this will allow us to track these entities back to their point of origin, and potentially even communicate with them. The Council was silent as they absorbed this information. Finally, a Drakethi elder, his scales shimmering with barely contained energy, spoke. It is an audacious plan, Admiral. But given the circumstances, audacity may be exactly what we need. One by one, the other council members voiced their agreement. The Northumbria project, once seen as a human folly, was now the galaxy's best hope. As the council session adjourned, Elena found herself approached by Zixera. The Aetherian's eyes, multifaceted and iridescent, seemed to peer into Elena's very soul. "You carry a great burden, my friend," Zixera said softly. Elena sighed, allowing her composed facade to slip for just a moment. "I'm afraid, Zixera. Afraid that we're not ready for this, that we're going to lead the entire galaxy into disaster." Zixera placed a feathered hand on Elena's shoulder. "Fear is natural, Elena. But remember why the Alliance welcomed humanity so readily. Your species has a unique ability to face the unknown with courage and creativity. You see possibilities where others see only obstacles." Elena managed a small smile. "I hope you're right. Because if we're wrong about this, then we will face the consequences together," Zixera finished. As allies, as friends. As Elena left the council chamber, her mind was already racing with plans and preparations. The Northumbria would need a crew, a mixture of the best and brightest from every Alliance species. They would be embarking on a journey into the unknown, facing dangers beyond imagination. But as she looked out at the stars visible through Harmony Station's vast windows, Elena felt a spark of the same excitement and determination that had led her to join Earth's fledgling space program all those years ago. Humanity had dreamed of the stars for millennia. Now that they were here, they would fight with everything they had to protect them. The challenge ahead was immense, but Elena Rodriguez was ready to face it. The Northumbria would roll out soon, carrying with it the hopes of an entire galaxy. And maybe, just maybe, it would be enough to turn the tide against the cosmic horrors that threatened everything they held dear. The innovation. The sprawling shipyards of Mars buzzed with activity, a hive of human and alien workers swarming over the colossal frame of the HSS Northumbria. At nearly 15 kilometers in length, it dwarfed even the largest Alliance dreadnoughts. Its hull gleamed with a mix of traditional metals and exotic alloys, punctuated by pulsing lines. Of the sprawling shipyards of Mars buzzed with activity, a hive of human and alien workers swarming over the colossal frame of the HSS Northumbria. At nearly 15 kilometers in length, it dwarfed even the largest Alliance dreadnoughts. Its hull gleamed with a mix of traditional metals and exotic alloys, punctuated by pulsing lines of energy that hinted at the revolutionary technology within. Dr. Samantha Chen, the lead engineer on the Northumbria project, stood in the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the massive ship. Despite the exhaustion etched on her face, there was a fire in her eyes that spoke of unwavering determination. "It's beautiful," murmured Caxlith, her Ixtaxian assistant. The gelatinous alien's form rippled with patterns that Samantha had learned to recognize as awe. Samantha nodded, allowing herself a moment of pride. "It is. But more importantly, it works." The wormhole drive tests were successful. The wormhole drive was the heart of the Northumbria, the key innovation that set it apart from every other ship in the galaxy. Based on the principles observed in the cosmic horrors they now faced, it allowed the ship to generate stable wormholes at will. In theory, this would allow them to travel vast distances instantly, and even track the movements of their mysterious enemies. A chime from her comm unit interrupted Samantha's reverie. "Dr. Chen," came the voice of Admiral Rodriguez. "We need you in the war room. There's been a development." Minutes later, Samantha found herself in a secure briefing room deep within the Martian base. Admiral Rodriguez stood at the head of the table, her face grim. Around her were gathered military leaders and scientists from a dozen different species. "We've lost contact with the Centauri outpost," Elena said without preamble. "Long-range scans show spatial distortions consistent with what we saw in the maelstrom." A ripple of unease passed through the room. The Centauri system was one of humanity's first extrasolar colonies, home to millions of people. If it had fallen, how long until the Northumbria is ready? Asked a gruff Drakathi general, his scales bristling with agitation. Samantha took a deep breath. "The primary systems are online. We can launch within 48 hours, but we'll be going out without full testing. There are still unknowns, risks. We don't have a choice," Elena cut in. "Every moment we wait, more lives are at risk. Dr. Chen, you have 24 hours to get the Northumbria ready for launch. We're taking the fight to them." As the room erupted into a flurry of activity, Samantha felt a mix of excitement and terror. This was what they had been working towards, but the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. The next day passed in a blur of last-minute adjustments, hasty briefings, and barely controlled chaos. Crew members from dozens of species poured into the Northumbria, each bringing unique skills and technologies to bear against the coming threat. In the ship's vast engineering bay, Samantha oversaw the final calibrations of the wormhole drive. The device was a marvel of cross-species collaboration, combining Ixtaxian bioorganic computers, Drakathi energy matrices, and human ingenuity. Dr. Chen called out one of her human assistants. "We're picking up some unusual fluctuations in the drive core." Samantha frowned, studying the readouts. The energy patterns were unlike anything they had seen in simulations. For a moment, she considered recommending a delay of the launch. But the image of the Centauri system, home to millions of innocent lives, flashed through her mind. "Compensate with the auxiliary power couplings," she ordered, "and reroute non-essential systems through the secondary grid. We'll sort out the fluctuations en route." As the final hours ticked down, Admiral Rodriguez addressed the assembled crew from the Northumbria's bridge. Her voice echoed through every corner of the massive ship. "We stand at a crossroads," she began, her voice steady and determined. "Before us lies a threat unlike any our galaxy has ever faced. But on this ship, we carry the hopes, dreams, and ingenuity of 100 worlds. We are the best of what the Alliance and humanity have to offer. And together, we will meet this challenge head-on." A cheer went up from the crew, a cacophony of human voices mingling with the trills, growls, and ethereal tones of a dozen alien species. As it faded, Elena gave the order they had all been waiting for. "Helm, set course for the Centauri system. Dr. Chen, activate the wormhole drive." Samantha took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the activation panel. This was it, the moment of truth. With a silent prayer to whatever might be listening, she initiated the drive sequence. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like reality itself tearing at the seams, a massive wormhole blossomed before the Northumbria. Its swirling vortex was a window to the stars, a portal to the unknown. "Drive stable," Samantha reported, her voice tight with controlled excitement. "Wormhole integrity at 98%. We're ready." Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the swirling vortex. "Take us in." The Northumbria surged forward, its massive bulk slipping into the wormhole with surprising grace. For a moment, the ship was surrounded by a kaleidoscope of light and energy, the very fabric of space-time bending around them. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The Northumbria emerged into real space, the familiar stars of the Centauri system spread out before them. But the scene that greeted them was far from welcoming. The space around Alpha Centauri was alive with twisted, nightmarish shapes. Cosmic horrors, far larger and more numerous than the one they had faced in the maelstrom, swarmed around the planets. The once thriving colonies were dark, their orbital stations torn asunder. "My God," whispered Alina, her composure slipping for just a moment. "We're too late." But even as despair threatened to overtake them, a faint signal caught their attention. A transmission, weak but unmistakable, was coming from the surface of Proxima, the system's most habitable planet. "This is Governor Yuki Tanaka of New Eden Colony," came a familiar voice, strained but unbroken. "If anyone can hear this, we're still holding out. But we can't last much longer. Please, if help is coming, hurry." Alina's eyes met Samantha's across the bridge. In that moment, a silent understanding passed between them. They hadn't come all this way, hadn't pushed the boundaries of science and engineering, just to give up now. "Battle stations," Alina ordered, her voice ringing with renewed determination. "Dr. Chen, prep the wormhole drive for combat maneuvers. We're going to show these cosmic horrors what happens when they mess with humanity and our allies." As the Northumbria's weapon systems came online and smaller craft began launching from its massive hangars, Samantha felt a surge of pride and determination. They had built this ship to face the unknown, to push back against the darkness that threatened to engulf the galaxy. Now it was time to put their ingenuity to the test. The battle for Centauri, and perhaps the fate of the entire galaxy, was about to begin. And humanity, standing shoulder to shoulder with their alien allies, was ready to fight with everything they had. The journey, the battle for the Centauri system, raged across the void, a dizzying dance of energy weapons, twisted space-time, and courage in the face of cosmic horror. The HSS Northumbria moved with a grace that belied its massive size, opening wormholes to outmaneuver the nightmarish entities that swarmed around it. On the bridge, Admiral Alina Rodriguez barked out orders, her calm demeanor a steadying influence on the mixed human and alien crew. "Concentrate fire on the largest entity. Dr. Chen, can you get us a wormhole behind it?" In engineering, Samantha's fingers flew across holographic interfaces, coaxing ever more power from the revolutionary drive. "Wormhole opening in 3, 2, 1. Now." The Northumbria vanished from in front of the massive cosmic horror, reappearing behind it in a burst of swirling energy. Before the creature could react, the ship's main cannon, a marvel of Drakathy particle acceleration technology, fired. The blast tore through the horror's shifting form, causing it to implode in a silent, reality-warping explosion. But for every monster they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The creatures were learning, adapting to the Northumbria's tactics with terrifying speed. "Admiral," called out the Aetherian sensor officer, her feathers ruffled with agitation, "I'm detecting a massive energy buildup from the planetary surface. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Before Alina could respond, a blinding light erupted from Proxima. For a moment, it seemed as if a new star had been born. When the glare faded, the cosmic horrors nearest the planet were gone, reduced to drifting particles. "What the hell was that?" Alina demanded. "Unknown, Admiral," the sensor officer replied. "But I'm picking up a transmission from the surface. It's Governor Tanaka." Yuki's face appeared on the main view screen, haggard but triumphant. "Northumbria, this is New Eden. We've activated our planetary defense system. It's a one-shot deal, but it should give you the opening you need." Alina nodded, a grim smile on her face. "Understood, Governor. We'll make it count. All ships, push forward. Let's clear a path to the surface." The battle reached a fever pitch as the Northumbria and its escort ships drove towards Proxima. The remaining cosmic horrors, perhaps sensing the tide turning against them, fought with renewed ferocity. But the combined might of human ingenuity and alien technology proved too much for them. Hours later, as the last of the entities retreated into the depths of space, Alina found herself standing in the shattered remains of New Eden's government complex. The colony had paid a heavy price, but thanks to their mysterious planetary defense system, and the timely arrival of the Northumbria, they had survived. It was a gamble, Yuki explained, gesturing to a massive device that dominated the underground chamber. We adapted some of the technology from the Void Collective, combined it with what we knew about these things, managed to create a weapon that disrupts their very existence. Elena studied the device with a mixture of awe and concern. This technology, it's beyond anything we've seen. The potential applications are terrifying, Yuki finished. I know. That's why we didn't tell anyone about it. We weren't even sure it would work. Before Elena could respond, her comm unit chimed. Admiral, came Samantha's voice, tight with urgency. We're picking up some strange readings from the wormhole drive. I think we might have a way to track these things back to their point of origin. Elena's eyes widened. This was the breakthrough they had been hoping for. Understood, Doctor. I'm on my way. She turned to Yuki. Governor, we need to get this weapon and all related data onto the Northumbria. If Samantha's right, we might have a chance to end this threat once and for all. As they rushed to prepare for departure, Elena couldn't shake a feeling of unease. They were pushing into unknown territory, armed with technology they barely understood, to face an enemy that defied comprehension. But what choice did they have? The fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy hung in the balance. Days later, the Northumbria hovered at the edge of known space. Before them stretched a void darker than anything they had ever encountered, a region where the very laws of physics seemed to break down. This is it, Samantha announced, her voice hushed with a mixture of fear and excitement. According to our calculations, this is where they're coming from. Elena nodded, her jaw set with determination. Then that's where we're going. All hands, prepare for wormhole jump. We're about to go where no one has gone before. As the familiar swirl of the wormhole enveloped the ship, Elena found herself thinking of Earth, of the countless generations who had looked up at the stars and dreamed of this moment. They had come so far, faced so much. Whatever lay on the other side of this jump, she knew that the spirit of human exploration and the strength of their alliance would see them through. The Northumbria emerged into a realm that defied description. Swirling masses of energy and matter twisted in impossible shapes, while vast, incomprehensible entities drifted in the void. It was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure, a glimpse into the true face of a universe far stranger than they had ever imagined. By the void, whispered Zixara, her usually melodious voice choked with awe. What is this place? Before anyone could respond, a presence made itself known. It wasn't a voice, not in any sense they understood, but a feeling that permeated every atom of the ship and its crew. It spoke of age beyond reckoning, of knowledge beyond comprehension, and of a loneliness that defied imagination. In that moment, Elena understood. These cosmic horrors, these reality-warping monstrosities, weren't invaders. They were explorers, like humanity, reaching out into the unknown. But their very nature was inimical to the universe as we knew it, their presence a threat to the fabric of reality itself. With this realization came an opportunity, not for battle, but for communication, for understanding. The Northumbria, with its wormhole drive and its diverse crew of species, was uniquely positioned to bridge the gap between these two incompatible forms of existence. As Elena prepared to attempt contact, she realized that this was the true purpose of their journey, not to conquer or destroy, but to expand the boundaries of understanding, to forge connections across the vast gulfs of space and comprehension that separated the denizens of the universe. The challenge ahead was immense, the dangers still very real. But as she looked around at her crew, human and alien alike, united in their quest for knowledge and peace, Elena knew that they were ready to face whatever came next. This was what humanity had always done best, reaching out into the unknown, seeking to understand, to connect, to grow. The journey of the Northumbria was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. But with each step into the cosmic unknown, They carried with them the very best of what humanity and their allies had to offer. And in doing so, they would shape the destiny of not just their own species or their alliance, but of the entire universe. The triumph. The vastness of the cosmic realm surrounded the Northumbria, reality twisting and shifting in ways that defied comprehension. For what felt like an eternity, Admiral Elena Rodriguez and her crew struggled to make sense of the alien presence that permeated their very beings. The ship's advanced systems, a testament to the combined ingenuity of multiple species, strained to translate the otherworldly communications into something they could understand. Finally, after what could have been hours or days, a breakthrough came. Dr. Samantha Chen, her eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep, but burning with excitement, burst onto the bridge. "We've done it," she exclaimed, her voice hoarse but triumphant. "We've established a rudimentary form of communication." Elena leaned forward, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "What have you learned, Doctor?" Samantha's fingers danced across a holographic display, bringing up a series of complex equations and diagrams. "They're not invaders, not in the way we understood. They're explorers of a sort, but their very existence in our universe causes the disruptions we've been experiencing. It's like oil and water trying to mix." Zixera, the Aetherian diplomat, trilled softly. "Then our mission changes. We are no longer here to fight, but to understand and negotiate." Elena nodded, a wry smile crossing her face. "It seems we've come full circle. Humanity's first contact with the galactic community, and now the galaxy's first contact with whatever these beings are." Over the next several weeks, the crew of the Northumbria worked tirelessly to expand their communication with the cosmic entities. They learned that these beings existed in a higher dimension, one that intersected with our universe in ways that caused the reality warping effects they had witnessed. The entities, in turn, began to understand the impact their exploration was having on our realm. They had been unaware of the destruction they were causing, their perception of our universe as alien to them as theirs was. The entities, in turn, began to understand the impact their exploration was having on our realm. They had been unaware of the destruction they were causing, their perception of our universe as alien to them as theirs was to us. As the dialogue progressed, Elena found herself in awe of the creativity and adaptability of her crew. Humans worked alongside aliens, combining their unique perspectives to tackle problems that would have been insurmountable for any single species. The Ixtaxian bioorganic computers interface with Aetherian quantum processors, creating a hybrid system capable of processing the mind-bending concepts needed to communicate with the entities. Dr. Chen and her team worked tirelessly, pushing the limits of the wormhole drive to create stable interfaces between the two realities. It was dangerous, exhausting work, but the potential rewards were immeasurable. "We're proposing a solution," Samantha explained during one of their daily briefings. Her holographic display showed a complex network of energy fields and dimensional barriers, a way for our universes to coexist without destructive interference. But it's going to take resources and cooperation on a scale we've never seen before. Elena nodded, understanding the magnitude of what they were attempting. "We'll need to present this to the Alliance Council and to the entities. This isn't a decision we can make alone." The next few days were a flurry of activity as they prepared for an unprecedented conference. The Northumbria's vast hangar bay was converted into a meeting space capable of accommodating both physical and higher-dimensional beings. Representatives from every Alliance species were brought in via long-range wormhole communications, a feat that would have been impossible just months ago. As Elena stood before the assembled delegates, both physical and ethereal, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. "We stand at a crossroads," she began, her voice steady and clear. "Before us is an opportunity not just for peace, but for a fundamental expansion of our understanding of the universe. The path ahead will not be easy. It will require sacrifice, cooperation, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. But I believe that together, we can forge a future greater than any of us could have imagined." The debate that followed was intense, with arguments and counter-arguments flying back and forth across species and dimensional barriers. But as the hours turned into days, a consensus began to emerge. The plan, audacious as it was, offered hope for both realms. The implementation would take years, perhaps decades. It would require the construction of massive arrays of wormhole stabilizers throughout the galaxy, the development of new technologies to interface between dimensions, and a fundamental shift in how both sides viewed the nature of reality itself. But as the conference concluded and the work began, there was a sense of optimism that permeated the Northumbria and spread across the galaxy. They had faced an existential threat, and instead of resorting to destruction, had found a path to mutual understanding and coexistence. Months later, as the Northumbria made its way back to Earth, Alina stood in the observation deck, watching the stars streak by. Beside her, Zixera trilled softly. "You know," the Aetherian said, "when we first encountered humanity, many in the Alliance were skeptical. They thought you were too young, too aggressive, too unpredictable. But in you, we found the very qualities we needed to face this crisis. Your curiosity, your adaptability, your relentless drive to explore and understand. These are the traits that may well have saved us all." Elena smiled, thinking of the long journey that had brought them to this point. "We couldn't have done it alone," she said. "It was the combination of all our strengths that made this possible." As Earth came into view, a brilliant blue marble suspended in the void, Alina felt a surge of pride. Humanity had reached for the stars, and in doing so, had helped forge a new understanding of the universe itself. The journey ahead would be long and filled with challenges, but they would face it together, united in their quest for knowledge and peace. The Northumbria, once seen as an outsized ambition, had become a symbol of what was possible when different species came together, combining their strengths and overcoming their differences. As they prepared for the welcome that awaited them on Earth, Alina knew that this was not an end, but a beginning. The true golden age of exploration was just dawning, and humanity would be at the forefront, ready to face whatever wonders and challenges the universe had in store. As the ship began its descent towards home, Alina thought of all the generations of humans who had looked up at the stars and dreamed of this moment. They had not only reached those stars, but had played a pivotal role in reshaping the very nature of the cosmos. Whatever the future held, she knew that the spirit of human ingenuity, coupled with the strength of their galactic allies, would see them through. The Northumbria had rolled out into the unknown, carrying the hopes of humanity and their allies. Now it returned, bearing the promise of a future brighter than anyone could have imagined. As the ship touched down on Earth's soil, Alina realized that their greatest triumph was not in conquering or defeating, but in understanding and connecting. And in that moment, she knew that the true golden age of humanity, and indeed, of all sentient life, was just beginning.